Oh my goodness, you guys, the number of times that I've had to restart this video, it's ridiculous. Um, Welcome back to Spiritual Maintenance. I am your spiritual advocate, Mystic Mary. The topic I am doing today is in regards to love in the spiritual side of things. Um, yeah, there's just a lot of like deception, manipulation, illusion, all the things tied up into this topic, which is probably why I was guided to speak on it. So the way everything showed up for me is um, in questions that I've written down, and I'm just going to hash them all out right here in front of you all. So the first one is, what is love? And what I got from that is holding space and living your life with unconditional regard for everyone, including yourself. So that is no judgment, no, putting your opinions on others. If someone asks for advice, sure, go ahead. But just living in a way that you accept those around you, accept where they're at, and be okay with it. And that is the truest sense of love. Um, and then the next question was, how does one love? And I think I kind of just summed that up in what love is you just allow anyone, whoever comes into your auric field, to just be themselves, accept them where they're at, recognize where they're at, and accept yourself for who you are and where you're at as well. If you're struggling with something, be okay with that and know that, okay, well, this is something I need to work on and I'm going to move forward in that. And to be okay with needing to learn, to grow. It's when you stop growing, when you think you know it all, that you need to get worried because, and you need to like recheck yourself because death comes next. The transition into the next cycle if you're done, and more often than not you're not done, and so your life may be about to get pretty chaotic if you're in this mindset of like, I'm perfect and I don't need to do anything else. So constantly be checking into where you need to grow and be okay with that, as well as others. Be okay with where people are at and recognizing that everybody struggles and no one, not a single soul in this realm, is perfect. The next little thing that I got is, it says, read scripture, it's all in there. And that's where I kind of went back and forth. I was like, maybe in the New Testament. And then I got a little pushback from Spirit of like, no, it's in the Old Testament. And that is the whole point of the Old Testament is um, there was the chosen people, not because they were better than anybody else, but because Spirit needed a collective that was doing everything according to the rules. And through that, showed that not a single time did they make it to like the perfect world, because they always needed Spirit. That's why when the coming of Jesus comes and he shows us how actually to live our life, which is through love, sharing love, that good news, and I'm talking agape love, as in like that unconditional regard for others. Um, it is in that way that that peace on earth will come. It's not in the rules and the everything. Because what we learned from the Old Testament is that it didn't matter how many times that specific group was forgiven for the horrors that they did. Um, God forgave them, reset everything, and then boom, they fell again. Boom, they fell again. Boom, they fell again. Because you need Spirit. You need to walk with Spirit in order to succeed. And so that was proof of that. And then it goes and reiterates in the New Testament that Jew and Gentile are in fact the same. And the only reason that there was a singling out was again to show an example of it doesn't matter if you have all the rules and you're doing everything perfect like this specific group still fell over and over and over again. Um, so stop trying to be perfect because it doesn't work. Okay. And then it says, Jesus walked and talked love, follow him. So again, going back with the, um, he came to show us the way. Not, there's like this belief that he came and then like you still have to follow all these rules. And all he did was open this door that was closed to us. Which, I mean, in a way, maybe. Um, but it's mainly how he lived his life that we're supposed to be following. The whole like behind the scenes, I think there's um, too much focus on that, what was behind the scenes, because then that leads to, well, this is what was going on behind the scenes, so this is what we need to do over here. And then it starts with those rules, and we need to do this, we need to do that, which Jesus called the traditions of men. So if you are in a sect or group that has a whole bunch of rules and you need to follow these for salvation, I personally would walk away, because it is not through the rules that you will find salvation. It is through having a continuous relationship with spirit and living accordingly, seeing spirit within others, that you will find salvation. Because we're here to know, love, and serve spirit and spirit alone. And there's too many people that come into those areas of power to where it's almost like you start worshiping them, and then they of course get that hit of whatever it is, and then a lot of those systems crumble again, because it's just like in the Old Testament where there was this group that was like, oh no, we're the truth. They crumbled over and over and over again. And so if you keep trying to set up those systems here and now, same concept, it's going to keep crumbling. So the way they show us to do it in the New Testament is to go individually to everybody. It literally says go to their houses, and then if they're not, if whomever's house you're in, they don't accept that, literally says dust your feet off and walk away. You don't tell them that they're wrong. You don't tell them what they should be doing. You just accept them where they're at, and carry on your merry way. Don't let it bother you. They're where they're at, and they're where they're at for a reason. And always believe that. Your heart knows. So that is that. Many call it intuition. Some people call it your conscience. That is that active relationship with spirit where you can listen and you just know. You don't know how you know, but you know. So you know if someone is showing you true love or if it's a lust situation. And same with yourself. Tune in with yourself. Like, do I actually love this person, or am I having physical reactions that are drawing me to this person? And always check in with your heart, and then use your logic to move forward. Always work in sync with your emotions and your logic working together. Because if you're too logical, you go astray. If you're too emotional, you go astray. So always connecting. And then that brings me to, what is faith, and is it being reckless? What I got from that is, having faith is knowing that there is a higher power out there, even if we can't explain it. It's out there, and it is working in our favor. And when we are working with it, going with it, our lives flow very easily. And then when we're listening to our intuition, again, we go with the flow instead of against the current, because it's when we're doing what we think we need to be doing, or go, in that mindset of like, um, oh, what is that? Lack mindset. I was thinking like starving and stuff like that. I'm like, I know there's a word for it. Lack mindset. When you're in that lack mindset, or that stinginess and all that kind of stuff, you're controlling your situation. Um, and the reason Jesus says to live a life in poverty is because those people, they don't know how they're getting food on the table, but they just have this belief of like, it'll all work out. It'll all work out. And somehow it always does, because it's not in that, having money and being able to do it, and, having good control of your life, though it is good to have goals and to have stability and stuff like that. But always have that poverty mindset of spirit will provide. I don't know how, but spirit will provide. And that's when the magic happens. So that is the faith. And then what is trust? And then I put risk, question mark, like, is that taking risks? Those kind of things. That is when you know without a shadow of a doubt that that spirit will catch you. So when you go out and you're just like, I don't know how this is going to work, but that's not my business. That's spirit's business. So I'm going to go. So it's trusting that you will be led, you will be protected, you will be guided. And that's kind of where this is going to take a turn into like relationships, marriage, stuff like that, because that trust is also needed in relationships, where you need to be able to know without a shadow of a doubt that your partner is going to show up for you. But before we get over there, it was, what is a leap of faith? And again, that's just knowing without a shadow of a doubt that the struggle that I'm going through, I don't need to be stressing about it. I'm going to move forward to what I want to be happening in this situation, and I'm just trusting with all my heart that the circumstances, the people, the places will all be provided as I move forward. I just need to take that first step, and I will be guided. So that's that leap of faith. And what slows us down or hinders those things to show up for us is that fear, regret, and then those poor choices. And those poor choices is when you're overly emotional or you're overly intellectual, and you're not in that balance of both and grounded in spirit. And then that leads to the next question of, why do we need a counterpart? Because, there's so many people out there that, are fine being single. But yet there's still this huge hype of finding the one. And what is the need for that? And I'm going to sit with that one for a second. I'm getting to see God, to see spirit working before your very eyes. And what I'm seeing is you putting in the work, building your kingdom with your counterpart, and that counterpart mirroring you with love, giving back in equal amounts that you're giving, and just watching this kingdom slowly expand. Expand beyond your wildest dreams. Like, I just keep seeing it going, like, even past the horizon, just this kingdom. It's honestly quite breathtaking. It's showing up to me as like those like stone buildings, like think Lord of the Rings, that Middle Earth type of how like all of the homes are kind of stone all around, but it's like it exploded really big, like right in front of my eyes. And it all started with this reciprocity between the two. Divine feminine, divine masculine energies. And that is key, the energies. Because souls do not have a gender, but it is the energy of masculine and feminine that is going to grow. That is going to grow it. And it honestly makes me think of this couple that I knew, um, two biological women, and they adopted foster kids. And like there was one, the one that you could definitely tell she had the masculine role, and the other one had the very soft feminine role. And these children, they horrific stories. I mean, the fact that they were able to be adopted should tell you enough. Um, but how much they flourished in just the few months that these two had them showed what kind of a system they had going on of being able to have those two energies. And I know there's um, a lot of talk about, you know, you need a man and a woman and two difference and all those kind of things. And again, I accept people where they're at. We all need to accept people where they're at. All I have to say is, from what I saw in the growth of those children, I can't say that was wrong. If anything, I think those children's lives were saved, and the beauty that just exploded in their little family was beautiful. And I think I'm being guided to share that because there's so many of that anymore. Um, and there's a lot of hate around that, and that's what we need to be. Ooh, I just felt that really like a lot right there. So those who are struggling with receiving that hate for the love that you're putting in, um, just being yourself, know that it's all worth it, and that it doesn't matter what the 3D world is telling you. Spirit sees what you're doing, and you will get back what you give. The next question is, why do we fear being alone? And I think it's that um, not receiving what you're giving out, that loneliness. And I think a lot of it is um, tied to physical love, um, where a lot of people don't understand that you can receive love in your community, in your social group. And there's, again, a heavy emphasis on the counterpart. And I'm hearing it's in those moments when you finally are okay being alone that your divine counterpart will show up. Because when both of you are okay being alone, then you understand what true love is, and therefore you can experience it to the fullest extent, and then spread that, continue it on generationally through um, your offspring, and then thus growing a community, a bloodline of love, true, authentic agape love. Okay, and then there's the fear of receiving love, and that comes from that fear of abandonment, where like if I allow myself to receive this and then it's taken away, like has been done in toxic family systems, that puts it to where, yeah, we're giving love, but we're not allowing ourselves to receive it. And the reason it's important that we receive it is because that's how our cup is filled. So if we keep giving, but we're not allowing anybody um, to give it back to us, then we're leading ourselves into burnout and self-sabotage, um, because our cup is never going to be full. So recognizing in those moments where you are um, closed off to love. A good way to notice that is with praise or um, recognition of what you're doing. And if you are downplaying it, like, oh, it wasn't that big a deal, or oh, this old thing, yeah, it's um, thank you for the compliment, but it's just me. Those kind of things. If you find yourself saying those things, you may be self-sabotaging yourself, and you may be the reason why you're burnt out and your love cup is not being filled. Um, because again, it's not something that you get just from your counterpart, it's what you get from your community as well. Love can be received anywhere, love at its truest sense. And I feel like I keep saying that because of how much lust is identified as love, which for some reason I feel led to add this part here. There's many people that will flirt in social gatherings, not because they really do like the other person or that they're open to all of these options, but because they were most likely victims of certain abuse. Um, and what happens during that abuse, they keep saying no or showing that they're not into it, but they get to that point where they're pressured so much that they finally agree because that seems to be less threatening than continuing to say no. So it's that level of fear in which they consented, um, that made it less harmful, we'll say. So then the brain, especially with how young they are at that age, that it happens, the brain then tells them that that consenting, that flirting, is actually a safety mechanism. So a lot of people don't realize that they're flirting, um, because they're usually triggered in that state. And when you're triggered, your prefrontal cortex is turned off. So you're working in your amygdala. So um, that might be something. I don't know why I'm guided to share it. It might be something to ask your friends, like, hey, do you notice if I flirt while I'm out? Or especially if you've been a victim of abuse, or if you notice somebody else around, maybe not judging so harshly and recognizing, like, ooh, there's a wound there, and maybe seeing what you can do. You can't fix people. People need to fix themselves. But just being aware of what's probably going on, um, cognitively for that person, and welcoming them into your group, especially if it's the same sex group, because a lot of times, like, um, they don't feel like they belong in groups, one because they're doing this behavior and they don't recognize it, so the same sex is like cutting them off, like, why are you acting like this, like, we don't want to be associated with you. So then they have this belief that, well, other guys or other girls don't like me, so I just hang out with this group, um, completely clueless of why. I feel like I keep going around in circles with that, so sorry. So welcoming in those people, recognizing what's probably going on behind the scene, and just, you don't need to become best friends or buddy buddy, but just welcoming them in and letting them feel included, because then you are allowing them to challenge those inner beliefs that other women or men don't like them, as well as keep them safe from the other predators out there, um, that will make a move on these people. Because usually when you've been abused, you continuously become abused because of just kind of that, I heard aura, the aura you're giving out. Um, a lot of them don't recognize that. Again, I don't know why I was guided to share that part, but somebody watching must need to know that. I could ground myself for a second because I felt that a lot. Oh, and then I just looked down and I saw the next little bullet point that I have. It's because I don't trust myself. That's why it came in, because these people don't trust themselves to keep themselves safe. Whew. So the flirting really is a safety mechanism. Okay. Um, and then next to that, can men and women truly be just friends? And that is widely debated. I think that I take it back. I don't want to say I think because then I'm bringing my ego into this. One second. Okay. They can be just friends. Healed men and women can be just friends. I just saw 25:52 on the clock. So the mirror. Um, Healed men and women can be just friends because they recognize what love is and they recognize what lust is. They can differentiate between the two. They recognize when things are maybe crossing boundaries and they have the emotional maturity to take a step back and recognize, like, hey, I'm going through something with my spouse, so it's probably not a good time that we hang out. Um, you know, in this time because it could lead to something that we'll regret later. And then the other person having the emotional maturity to recognize that and be like, absolutely, I'm going to step back. In fact, I'm not even going to text because I don't even want to tempt. Um, Again, very, very healed men and women. If they are not healed, I would not even recommend it because you are opening up a door that once is open cannot be closed, because with infidelity, once, if you are in a union and you are unfaithful, in that moment of being unfaithful, one, if your spouse is spiritually attuned, they will feel it, because what is happening on a spiritual level is that contract has been shredded and it's now become a karmic contract. So in the 3D, you will start seeing that marriage unravel on both ends. And then the karmic price must be paid. Um, and it will be. And the more you fight it, the worse it's going to be. And if you happen to be the one that has been um, cheated on, know your worth. Take a deep breath, stay grounded in spirit, do whatever you need to do to heal, but do not react in a way that is harmful to yourself or the other person, because then you become part of that karma needing to be repaid, because there's always that equal balance. So let karma do its thing and just know that you are okay, that that contract has been eliminated by that act. And so you are then free. Um, Loosed, I heard. So it goes back to that passage of what is loosed on earth is loosed in heaven and vice versa. So once that person decided to do that action, you were loosed. So congratulations, be free. um, why can't some seem to see your soul, but instead be focused on your vessel? And honestly, lack of spirit. If they're not walking in spirit, they cannot see spirit in the other person because they don't know, they don't even know what that experience is. So they're living in the 3D, therefore all they see is the 3D. So if you are looking for a potential partner, um, really listen to what attracts that person to you. And if they keep talking about how beautiful you are, how um, basically about your body and how quickly they're trying to move in that area, they are not healed. They are not walking with spirit. Um, and so move on to the next and keep up those boundaries. Treat yourself like the divine, uh, sacred vessel that you are. Because if you don't, then every time you join with somebody, you actually create a contract every time. Just like I was talking about with infidelity, that contract was broken um, with the first person, but now a new contract is being written with that person. And depending on the circumstances, it's either going to be karmic or dharmic. And if it's casual or whatever, um, I'm hearing that it could still be dharmic if it's like two very single people, so that you're not involving others, in that um, it's treated with respect. And what I'm hearing is like you don't bounce around and then back to other people. So if it's like this happened, and then you're like, okay, we had this moment, it was great, but you're actually not the one for me. Finding closure and then moving to the next, and then you're not going to come back around. In that way, that could be considered dharmic, and there's no karma involved. But when you just kind of jump around and keep coming back around, it becomes karmic. And I got that from the woman at the well with many husbands. Because Jesus asked that question about where her husband was, and she said, I don't have one. And Jesus says, that's right, you have many, meaning there's many contracts open with her. So as soon as she creates those boundaries, then those contracts can be closed. But if you're keeping them open, then you have many spouses that are karmic. So if you're sleeping around, I highly encourage you to please stop and respect yourself and others. And then you will see your life flourish. Because that sacral energy that you're using in those moments can actually be harnessed to build your empire. So use your energy wisely. Okay. And then that brings me to the next one of without spirit, there is no divine union. It's just those contracts. So the definition of marriage shifts between whether or not spirit is actually involved. If spirit is not there, it's just a contract, typically karmic. But if spirit is there, both of you are grounded in spirit in living through the divine. It is a true divine union. It is a true marriage, and it will be blessed as such. And then that brings me to my last point, which is Ches, the Hebrew letter, and it actually means marriage. It stands for marriage, because we have the Zain and the Vav. The Vav is the female energy. The Zain is the feminine energy. If I am wrong, please correct me. I'm pretty sure that's the direction it goes. I should look that up sooner. Anyways, one stands for the female, one stands for the male. And this little bridge right here, which is found in the traditional letter. So the usual letters that you would see with Ches is this one. And then you see up at the side, it shows the traditional way it's been. And this little bridge right here represents spirit, because once spirit is the union between the two, that's what creates the marriage. And for those who do Kabbalic work, Kabbalion work, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that word. It is pathway 18. Yeah, it's path 18, and that is between the temples Skabura and Bina. I will do a series on that where I do a guided meditation to help you activate and ignite the temples within you, the 10 temples, so that you can do the path work. And then I will do meditations in the path work basically guided meditation path works. I have not decided if I wanted to make that a members only thing or if I just want to put it out there. Just because with this type of work, this deep spiritual work, as again, as within, so without. So if you're working in that deep energy and you're becoming aligned, well, your 3D world is going to start matching in that way. And so you're going to see things shift pretty quickly, and you need to be in a headspace where you can handle that, because if you're not, then the negative aspects that hinder that work are actually going to be amplified. And if you're not in a space where you can handle it, it does more harm than good. So recognizing what exactly it is you're getting into, and I will have disclaimers on all of them if I decide to make it public. I think I'll have disclaimers on them anyway, even if it is a members only thing. But that's if I make it to members. I think if I don't, because I'm not really in a place that I'm just like, oh, share it everywhere. Because honest, I don't. Yeah. Anyways, Spirit pushed me to make this channel, and I'm trying to get into the groove of it because it's super uncomfortable. So, but I do also encourage you to make a channel, because I think there's this one tarot reader, Tennille. She had her channel is Tennille Talks, and she recommended everybody have their own channel because everybody has their own personal message to share. So together it creates like a digital Bible where everybody has their own book within that, within the spiritual. And I love the way she put that. So I do encourage you to share it as well. The reason I say that now is because you can see how uncomfortable I am. So if I can do it, believe me, you can do it. And I think that's hilarious. I'm actually wearing my antisocial shirt because I'm not a people person. So, but anyways, back on that, I may make a Patreon or a Vimeo or something like that, just so that it is accessible to you watching this in a platform that exists. Okay. I think that is all. Bless you if you stayed through my ramble and everything. So much love to you. That's amazing. I hope what I shared helped. I hope it leads to healing. I hope every one of the videos you watch leads to healing. That's the whole point of this. And I look forward to where we go from there and what this realm is going to look like. Honestly, even a week or month from now, because I feel like the shifts are happening that quickly. I'm going to assume it's not just me feeling these shifts. I think everyone else is doing it because everybody is starting to awaken, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So have an absolutely wonderful week, and I will see you soon. Bye.